make sure the camera's over there. So have a look every time it's turned around to you.
Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Malia Hampton, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Captain Ryan Malcolm. We warmly welcome Air Commodore Peter McDermott, the Air Force Association National Vice President, and Wing Commander Michael Garside, Australian War Memorial Air Force Fellow. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. With golden soil and wealth foretold, our home is good by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Pilot Officer Allan Harry Pearce. Allan Pearce was born on the 15th of May 1922 in Adelaide, son of Harry and Iris Pearce. He attended Norwood Public School and afterwards found work as a mechanical engineer. Having served for 12 months as a gunner with the 48th Australian Battery, he enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 5th of November 1942, aged 20. The following April, he married his sweetheart, Thelma Jane. Pearce underwent training in Australia and in October 1943 received his Navigator's Badge. On the 26th of November, now a sergeant, he embarked for overseas service from Sydney, arriving in the United Kingdom in January. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,000 RAAF pilots, navigators, wireless operators, gunners and engineers who joined Australian and British squadrons in Britain throughout the course of the war. Further specialist training followed in England, and in May 1944 he was promoted to Flight Sergeant. On the 20th of October 1944 he was posted to number 467 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. As part of Bomber Command, the squadron flew the four-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bomber. On the 8th of January 1945, Pearce was granted a commission as a pilot officer. On the night of the 2nd of February, Bomber Command mounted simultaneous raids on a number of targets in Germany, launching 1,200 aircraft. Some 250 of them were sent to bomb the town of Karlsruhe in Germany. Number 467 Squadron committed 19 aircraft, with Pilot Officer Pearce being the bomb aimer on Lancaster POJ, which took off from the Royal Air Force Base at Waddington at 7:51 p.m. Two of the squadron's Lancasters never returned, including Pearce's. It later emerged that the aircraft had been shot down near the village of Karlsdorf, 20 kilometres east of the target. Also on board were Australians Flying Officer James Inkster, Warrant Officer Bertram Webb, and Flight Sergeants Frederick Bean, Frank Everett and Phil Carter. Along with them were British Airmen Flight Lieutenant Noel Colley and Sergeant Dennis Howell. The bodies of the crew were recovered by the Germans and buried in a communal grave in Karlsdorf Cemetery. After the war, the remains of the Commonwealth servicemen buried in Europe were examined and identified where possible. Pearce, Everett and Carter's remains could not be identified, so they were reinterred together at Dornbach War Cemetery. Pearce's headstone bears the inscription, "We who love him will never forget, ever remember by all." He was 22 years old. Pearce left behind a mourning wife and a son he never met, Barry, who was born in mid-1944. His younger brother Raymond had enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force in 1944, but was yet to post overseas when the war ended. Pilot Officer Allan Pearce's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 4,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Pilot Officer Allan Harry Pearce, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the War Memorial and wish you all a very good, if slightly damp, evening.